going to expire pretty quickly. I think that one expires around 6:45. Brevard County also seeing some flooding, and you can see these are just some images of what we're seeing all over town.
Yeah, we've seen Orlando. This storm was big enough. We saw a lot of flooding in downtown Orlando. Some of the waterways there have overflowed. We'll continue to track that as we track Tropical Storm Ian now. Major flooding in an apartment complex in Kissimmee as well. This is new video. CNN showing water levels rising, reaching the bumpers of vehicles there. This is actually at the Reef Club Apartments. That's in Kissimmee. And of course, as we've been saying, we recommend you stay inside as those flash flood warnings that Amy just went through, they are in effect, and some of those will continue well into the morning.
Ian is considered the 4th strongest storm ever to make landfall here in Florida. And here's that. This is what I was talking about earlier, just to give you an indication of where it falls. This is back before they named storms. They would just call it the Labor Day storm, right? They didn't have names back then. That was back in 1935. That was the strongest. About 185 mile an hour winds, just incredible. Then Andrew, 1992. Jamie tells stories of living through that and just how frightening that was for him. Hurricane Michael was the one that hit the Panhandle just a couple of years ago. And if you've driven up on I-10, you can still see the trees are down from Hurricane Michael in 2018 at 160 miles an hour. And then there we are with Ian at 150.
Misleading because it was almost triple the size of Charlie. But yet, when you look at that graph, they seem fairly equal.
Yeah, you brought it up, but it's just so fascinating when you take the entire size of Charlie and stick it in the eye of Ian. I mean, it really is truly a fascinating way to look at those two storms back to back. Ian and Charlie's wind speeds nearly exactly the same, but Charlie was much, much smaller. And Charlie was much faster, too.
Yes, it was.
If you lived through Charlie, you remember that thing blew through here like it was on a horse track.
We're feeling that now. Yeah. I think last night it went from 9 to 8 miles an hour. That's how slow the storm's moving through.
And of course, we remember the damage that Charlie did to all the trees downtown and in Winter Park. Winter Park significantly took a hit from Charlie as well. Let's look forward to seeing the worst of Ian overnight in the overnight hours and really this morning as well.
We want to check in with the weather team. They're over there ready. They've been going long hours, so we appreciate all the work. And this storm is moving so slow, we're continuing to get hit.
Yeah, that is the case, Ryan, for sure. Volusia County specifically right now, not to say there isn't heavy rain in other spots, but Volusia has had this freight train of tropical moisture, Allison.
Tropical moisture and the gusty winds there. We have Nestor Motto, one of our reporters, boots on the ground, and conditions continue to get worse, at least with the rising rain on the ground.
Right, he's over on Canal Street in beautiful New Smyrna Beach, so we're going to check back with him soon, I hope. I do want to just update everybody right now on the flash flood emergency we had along State Highway 434, Altamont, West Longwood area, Gum Street, Oak Street, and then up toward Woodbridge and Springs Boulevard, right where the river, essentially, Little Wekiva, turns into, at times looks like a dry creek. That swelled up with some super heavy rain amounts. We had an area rain band set up over that, and it dumped like 6, 7, 8 inches, like bam, just like that. So it was very quick. I'm waiting on confirmation. I'm watching actually the gauge there. We managed to locate the gauge where that alert was tripped. And I'm working in tandem now with National Weather Service Melbourne to get some more details on that. But I do believe that we may be decreasing the flood risk in that area right now. But boy, was that super interesting when that popped on up, and super high level concern to Allison and myself here in the Storm Center, watching that closely. All right, let's talk power outages. You can see down in the southwestern peninsula, there are lots and lots of folks without power after they sustained that major Category 4 strike from Ian yesterday. You can see right now as we bring it back home, about 10,000 without power up in Marion County, Flagler County as well. 100,000 we're told now in Volusia, Lake County 24,000, and 150,000 in the metro here in Orlando for Orange County, over toward the east side here into and increasing toward Brevard along the I-95 corridor. About 150,000 there, 7,000 out toward the spine of Brevard County. Make that 70,000 and 36,000 down in Osceola County, Lakeland, Polk County, 190,000 and 4,500 over in Sumter. So you can see how very impactful the winds have been. The very heavy rain, that has been an issue, can take down trees, which can take down power lines. We know how that operates around these parts. So I want to update you on Volusia County. Looks like through tomorrow, we're going to have some 30 to 40 mile per hour winds on top. Gusts in that range of about 55 to 65. A lot of the 65 business here primarily for right about now and for the next several hours until we start to separate from Ian. Rainfall looks to be in that range of about 5 to 10 inches. Another one we've managed to drum up here for you. Been so busy tracking the heavy rain and keeping people in Volusia County nice and safe. So we're going to, next commercial break, we're going to dip behind the scenes. We're going to add more counties. I know a lot of you are out there wanting to know what's going to be happening in your neck of the woods, so we got you covered. And furthermore, you can see the camera tree here just to my side on the side of the screen showing the heavy rain and the winds unfolding across. The area got locators on there for y'all too. So through Thursday today, Lake County 20 to 30, looks like 35 to 40 on the gusts with an additional 2 to 3 inches when it's all said and done. So Allison, we are dealing with heavy rain all over the place. Yep. The gusty winds, and that does not look to cease anytime soon as Ian continues literally an assault on the region this morning. What a rainmaker this thing has proved to be.
Yeah, and we're still hearing that rain in our Fox 35 studios right now, and we have reporters all across the viewing area showing you what conditions look like outside, because we're still seeing very heavy rain. I do want to actually time out some of that rain that's making its way just off the coast of Volusia County and pushing on shore, moving toward Ponce Inlet within the next 7 minutes. The NSB Sports Complex in about 8. The Pavilion at Port Orange in 15 minutes from now, moving toward the Daytona International Speedway in 20, and one Daytona in about 21 minutes. So I actually want to show you rainfall rates, just how heavy the rain is falling. You can probably hear it if you live in Volusia County and portions of Seminole County right now on your roof. Anywhere from 5 to nearly 7 inches of rain that is falling. That's why we are seeing some flash flood warnings be extended. And the really great thing about working here at Fox is we have partners at Fox Weather, and I do want to take you out to our alert system right now. It is showing that flash flood warning in Volusia County was extended until 9:30 this morning. It looks like Brevard and Orange County are also associated with that. A flash flood warning in portions of Volusia County that does include New Smyrna Beach as well as Daytona Beach until 10 o'clock this morning. And then the flash flood warning in Seminole County likely to expire around 6:45. Again, we've been seeing these extend throughout the morning and extend up to the north. So we're going to be watching this very, very closely for you. Fox 35 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Jamie King and meteorologist Brittany Lockby, we're all here in the Fox 35 Storm Center for you, continuing to monitor conditions to make sure that you and your family are staying safe.
Allison, I love that alert system. No one else in town has the resources like we do here in the Storm Center. I mean, heck, the most powerful name in Weather Friends, Fox Weather, we have a live alert system that we're tied into. So we don't miss a beat. You won't miss a beat because we're going to keep you updated. That's our commitment and promise to all of you. We're going to keep you safe here on this Thursday morning. We'll send it back to you now, the anchor desk.
Fox 35 News starts now. Tracking Ian.
Welcome back. We are looking at live pictures right now of our own Randy Hildreth and her photographer as they are making their way to Kissimmee this morning, where we are hearing reports of flooding. We're hearing reports of flooding really all over.
All over. Viewers are saying they woke up and some didn't expect this and they can't get out because of the road. So this is constant in all of our counties this morning.
You just heard specifically from a viewer who is in Volusia County who is seeing a significant flooding
where
in
they've
her
been
house.
highlighted. She got pounded. She had to call the fire department. They said, call the police to see if we can get out there because they're in the same boat that we're in right now. They can't take those trucks out. We've seen an ambulance get stuck downtown Orlando. So emergency crews even struggling to get out in this also.
We did hear from Sheriff Mike Chitwood yesterday, who said they did have some high terrain vehicles that they were able to hopefully get to some people. So do talk to them about that. If maybe you do need to get rescued, that is something that they are prepared for. And Fox 35's Amanda McKenzie, she is in downtown Sanford, where they have seen some significant weather.
All long it's been like this.
It's been nasty out there. Amanda, how are you holding up?
Yeah, it's actually probably at its worst at this very moment. It's actually hard to stand up right now. So the wind speeds are definitely over 60 miles per hour, and the rain is coming down harder and heavier than before. I do want to show you the damage behind me. This was what we discovered around 1 o'clock this morning. This was a metal awning in front of this restaurant, the St. John's River Steak and Seafood Restaurant. The only reason that awning is still standing is because it is being held up by some palm trees. Now, this wind is just something else right now. You can actually, wow, you can see, looking straight down the street over here at these street signs, how they're shaking in the wind. I mean, that is intense. This is probably probably the strongest wind we've felt all morning long. So we're out here giving you all the conditions so that you don't leave the house and you can stay put. Not just the strong wind we're talking about flooding as well. So we're in downtown Sanford. We've seen several inches of rain on the streets, flooding them well above the sidewalks. Not a good time to be out, not a good time to drive either. So stay inside, stay safe, and we'll continue to update you on the conditions in downtown Sanford. Back to you.
Scary out there. All right, yes, so some of the damage that you're seeing, that restaurant is really close to Lake Monroe. And of course, Amanda showed a picture of downtown First Street, looking down where they hang the lights, you know, where Hollerbach's is and some of the other restaurants, and it was flooded.
And that was an hour and a half ago.
Yes.
So just imagine how much rain, this consistent rain, continues to go in one spot. That is the big concern right now. And well, as we know, that Ian, now a tropical storm, has been dropping rain all across Central Florida.
Fox 35's Alina Shirazi has been in Brevard County, and it has been raining pretty significantly there. Not nearly as bad as what we were seeing in Sanford, though, with Amanda. Hi, Alina.
Hi guys, good morning to you. Yeah, poor Amanda, it sounds like she's kind of seeing the worst of it right now, but we're seeing a little bit of the drizzles of rain, and it's been on and off here with the winds. Right now we're at Cocoa Village. We're sort of up on the northern tip of the county. Earlier we were in Melbourne near the south, but I want you to take a look here. Let me get out my flashlight so you can see exactly what's going on here. There's a little bit of debris, some palm fronds. You can see it just littering this parking lot here. We're again in the downtown Cocoa Village area where a lot of the businesses are. You can see some things are knocked over. You can take a look at one of these signs here. Not sure what it says because it's upside down. And here's another palm frond. I'm going to make sure that me and my photographer Rahin are safe as we step over this. There is a lot of flooding around here. It's a little bit worse on that end, but again, it's hard to see. Florida is a zoo. You don't know when you're going to find snakes. You don't know when you're going to find alligators. You don't know when you're going to find fire ants. So we've got another step up here, and we're going to walk up to the edge here. This is near the water, and you can see, look at this. Florida's mysteries. We have an abandoned boat right here. We don't know how this got here. We don't know if this is a fisherman's boat, a sailboat. We have no idea, but we know this is right up on the seawall here in Cocoa Village. And you can see another tree here. So you can see, I mean, this obviously drifted ashore here. We don't know when this happened, but it's right here in front of us. So again, I mean, some of the things that Ian just kind of washed up. We've been driving around Brevard County really all morning long trying to find some of these things that have washed up, some of these worst areas. A lot of more of the flooding is happening near the northern tip of the county, again, near those barrier islands like Merritt Island and Titusville. So, I mean, that's really the worst of what we're seeing right now. But again, we're going to continue to update you as we find more of these things throughout the county. Sending it back to you guys.
Thank you.
70,000 right now, according to FPNL, in Brevard County without power. And the storm hit on the other side of the coast.
Yeah, but it just goes to show that that wind will just knock down those power lines.
Yes.
You've got to be super careful.
Let's get to Jamie right now. He is tracking this, a storm that is moving so slow.
Ryan, we got another flash flood emergency again for the Little Wekiva River. We saw the levels going down on a local observation gauge. Back up again now. But wait, there's more. River levels now at 30.6 feet, nearly a foot. Nearly a foot above record. Unprecedented flooding occurring right now on the Little Wekiva River. Allison's driving the radar for me here. I want to take you down to the scene. We're looking at that area. This gauge is located, and it took us a little bit to find this thing, but the gauge is located just to the east of Gum Street and Oak Street. That's North Street down there, and there's 434. So right where 434 crosses over the Little Wekiva, it looks almost like a dry ditch if you were to drive over it. If you're familiar with that area, you got a Home Depot over there, 434, 436. There's a Costco over there, CVS on the corner, got a Wawa on the other side there. There's an area of condos and apartments that are right along that bank right there, I believe on the west side of it. So we're watching closely. If you're watching us now, you're hearing me now, and you live in that area, know that you've got to seek higher ground if you are in vicinity of that area there on the Little Wekiva, again, with unprecedented flooding occurring at this time. Our rainfall rate plotted for you now, showing very heavy rain amounts. in play here. So what's happening is we're likely, Allison, if you could show me areas up the Wekiva River, go up the Little Wekiva and head north up toward the St. Johns, because the St. Johns River, and that feeds the Little Wekiva, right? So if you're familiar with the St. Johns, you know, when you're going down the St. Johns and you're making a move heading north down, snaking north, and there's that turnoff right there at the channel marker for the Little Wekiva River, that's that area right there, and that's funneling all the way down now. So we've got a lot of heavy rain upstream of that, and that's flowing in. So all the areas and areas around DeBerry, up toward the northern extension there as you leave Seminole and head up to Volusia County, that area is flowing down the river at this time. So there's a lot of volume of water now snaking down the St. Johns River Basin, and now that is feeding the Wekiva, so the Little Wekiva, excuse me. So that's what's happening right now. You can see what's going on with that, tracing that out, and get heavy, heavy rains across the entire area. There's Lake Monroe there, and you can see how heavy the rain has been there. We continue with a flash flood warning in Seminole County now. This has been extended now to 8:45. So that's kind of the hot zone right now. We're going to stay on top of this for you. We're watching and tracking heavy rain all across the area, especially around Volusia County now. You can see up toward New Smyrna Beach. Our Nestor Motto's been over on Canal Street, over in NSB, getting slammed with the wind and with the rain now. So that is what's on tap across Volusia County. So essentially, as that begins to build back in this area and then feeds on down, it is getting out to the St. Johns River. And that's promoting higher river levels and tremendous volumes of water now snaking down south. So we're going to continue to stay on top of this for you. You can see south of Port Orange, there's Ponce Inlet out toward the coastline here. New Smyrna Beach on the other side of the jetties there at the mouth of the jetties. And right there through I-95 to I-4, super heavy rain continues. Myself and Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Allison Gargaro and Brittany Lockley, we're in house keeping you safe this Thursday morning right here live in the Fox 35 Storm Center. So we're going to go ahead and send it on back to you guys on the desk. More to come with this situation, I am sure. Back to you for now.
Yeah, viewers are sending us messages wanting to know, when's it going to stop? When's it going to stop? It's going to be a little while.
Yeah, in multiple counties, as you can see from the map.
All right.
Let's switch gears and go to Dave Puglisi now. And Dave has found damage really wherever he's gone this morning. And he's in Orlando this morning. Dave, what are you seeing right now?
Right now we're driving down Colonial where it's dark. Well, the front over here, this got some lights here, but behind us here on Colonial, going back a couple blocks, there is no lights, just no power for probably about a good 5 blocks. We've just turned down onto Orange Avenue. We'll give you a look at what things are looking like right now. Just not too much going on over here on Orange Avenue, as we have been seeing a little bit of flooding here and there on Colonial. We're noticing a vast majority of the flooding is really focused around the lakes, all the major lakes, even Lake Eola, Lake Ivanhoe was flooding out too. There's just been a number of those places. So nearby streets around those areas are seeing some significant issues. We buzzed by Livingston Street again, where we saw that traffic pole that was down and the traffic lights were down. Those are still there. One of the interesting things there is that whole street has turned into a massive wind tunnel, where actually we're pulling up on it right now. This street just moments ago was just a massive wind tunnel. We stood out here on the corner to try to get a couple shots of this, and it almost knocked us off our feet. We had to use the truck to protect ourselves. It was some of the strongest winds I've felt the entire time. You wouldn't know that this was a tropical storm if nobody told you. But that really, I think, had a lot to do with the buildings too, funneling the wind through. But we continue to track some of the storms here through downtown Orlando. But surprisingly, it seems like the rain has eased up downtown, which is something that will definitely be very helpful going forward with all this flooding. But that's the latest here downtown Orlando. Dave Puglisi, Fox 35 News.
Oh, that's a good thing. Of all of our viewing area, you would think Orange County would be the safest in the flooding, not surrounded by water. Not the case with this kind of rain as well. I want to show you this. The stoplight at Livingston and Orange Avenue in Orlando was bent over. This was, Dave found this earlier as well, and it kept cycling through, so that part still worked. But
yeah, scary stuff. And this is the reason that we, again, heard from Sheriff John Mina just a short time ago. He tweeted out, please stay in place, allow our crews to get out and assess the damage, because we are seeing some significant damage all over Central Florida, including in downtown. We've got several of the lakes that have come out of their banks.
Right.
So you just don't know what you're going to run into.
We just saw 5 blocks where Dave was driving with no lights whatsoever, and you should not be on the roads. Let's get to the scene now and set the record-breaking hurricane that was Ian. It made landfall at 3 p.m. yesterday. We tracked this yesterday, Amy. Kaya Costa, that's off the county of Lee County, which is completely without power this morning near Fort Myers. Max winds of 150 miles an hour. Keep in mind, landfall was at 3 p.m. The storm that was causing storm surge and extreme winds for that hours before.
It was a really scary situation yesterday and bordering on almost a Cat 5 status. We kept saying that we thought it might go to Cat 5. That's how breaking it was.
Obviously, in Fort Myers, they could care less what category it was.
We want to talk about power outages. We do have a map to show you, to give you a graphic to show you kind of what we're seeing in southwest Florida and significant power outages there because that was the hardest hit area. But we want to talk about some of the local numbers.
Yeah, even the best one there is Sarasota, but locally we've got the most outages. Duke says 176,000 in Orange County. Brevard County, even on the other side of this, has 70,000 out. But to put that in perspective, they have 330,000 customers. So nowhere near, if you do the percentages, any of those numbers right there. Seminole County, 9,000 out of 60,000. In Volusia, it's 48,000, but they've got 190,000 customers. And Flagler's seeing 10,000, and they're the farthest away from any of our counties right now from the storm.
Yeah, just be patient because it's going to take a while for these linemen to be able to get into place and get your power back on.
It's a great point. Florida Power and Light said we are very well aware that you're without power until our crews, they're going between bands. It's not like they're waiting for the storm to pass, but they have to be safe to do their work also.
Well, Tropical Storm Ian is still dumping rain. It's raining on the roof here. A flash flood warning in effect, as Jamie has been talking about for several hours now. Volusia County really taking the brunt of this. That flash flood warning goes until 10 a.m. for them. Seminole County has a flash flood warning in effect until 8:15, and this is just some of the video that we have seen of flooding in Central Florida this morning. It is much, much worse for the folks down in the Fort Myers, Naples, Bonita Springs area, but we are definitely seeing some nasty flooding this morning. We
are for sure, and obviously when you have this much rain, you're going to have these issues, and I think as the sun comes up, we're going to see a lot more flooding throughout Central Florida as well.
We want to talk to Randy Hildreth because she was driving to Kissimmee last time we checked on her, and it looks like you made it to where you are. Randy, how are you doing out there?
I can kind of make out the last bit of what you were saying. How am I doing out here? Well, I can tell you that it's definitely windy. I want to show you what I just watched in the last 3 minutes or so. This area is flooded, and I watched them bring the South Viola County Sheriff's patrol car out of the floodwaters here, and I want to just explain what happened. Not only did it come out of the floodwaters, when the deputy opened the door, you could see so much floodwater pouring out of this vehicle. So just to give you an idea of the kind of floodwater that we're talking about, that we're seeing in the community. Excuse me, sir. It's not attached to me. No worries, but you can see the situation here that they are having cars that are having to be pulled out of the water because this flooding is happening and it's taking people. It's happening so quickly. But this is the only car that was stranded along the street. If we could pan a little bit this way to my window, if we can look right down this area, there is another car that was stranded, and I did get a chance to talk with the person who was driving that car. She's actually out of the rain and out of the wind, sitting in our car while she waits on the sun to come up to figure out her next steps. But she says that she was headed to work, and as you can see, she tried to get to work, but the floodwaters were just too deep in this area, so the car is stalled out. In terms of what else we're seeing over here, and what we're hearing, as soon as I got out of the car, I could hear the sound of metal moving. And so when we talk about the powerful winds in this area, it sounds like it is moving things and twisting metal in this area. There's looks like an auto parts store, and the side of this building is metal, and so you could hear it moving parts of that building. But just floodwaters, high winds out here, and already seeing these two cars that have been stranded here, this patrol car that just pulled out. And if we could look at really quickly, it is still, you can still see some of the water that is pouring out of this patrol car. Orlando, if we could show this right here, just in terms of the water coming out, you can still see some of the water that is pouring out of this patrol car. And within the last 5 or 6 minutes or so, again, all of this water started pouring out, and it's still pouring out. Just another snapshot of what we're seeing over here, Orange Blossom Trail and Bonita. I'll send it back to you.
Wow, that's crazy. easy to see, and it just goes to show that's just one vehicle. That's a sheriff's vehicle, obviously, that Randy is standing next to that is experiencing that kind of damage. That's going to be all over Florida.
Absolutely. I think if there's one theme from all the way from Fort Myers to here, people have underestimated how much water they're going to encounter.
And remember, as the storm moves, you know, people are thinking, oh, why is it still bad in Osceola County and Volusia County at the same time? It's because, first of all, the massive size of the storm, but the way that the storm is churning and moving in sort of in that counterclockwise direction, that's the reason we're still seeing it. So
we were already saturated before this storm came. Then Osceola's been getting it for 2 days. Plus, this morning, it's just more than they can handle.
All right, we want to talk about Seminole County, which is still under a flash flood warning. 8:15 this morning is when that will expire, but they have been extending some of these warnings. First responders reminding you that you don't drive through floodwaters, don't walk through moving water, because even just 6 inches of water underneath your feet could knock you off your feet. Also remember this, because if we did talk about the video of the guy swimming in his living room,
yes,
right?
in Naples, yeah.
But remember that, you know, this water could be contaminated. There's waste and chemicals, and, you know, you've got fertilizer, all kinds of icky stuff. Also electrocution.
Things that swim in our waters that you probably don't want to be with.
That's a good point, Ryan. Thanks. Electrocution is the second leading cause of death in a flooding situation, so you do not want to go into the water under any circumstances. Just be really careful.
Absolutely. Let's continue our team coverage. We've got Fox 35's David Martin this morning. He has ridden this out, of course, in Sarasota County. David, good morning. How are things there?
Ryan, good morning. We've moved south, actually, from Sarasota to a town called Northport. It's between Sarasota and Fort Myers. We are making our way south as best we can this morning to give you an idea of the devastation from Hurricane Ian, now tropical storm. And I can tell you straight up, many of the roads are underwater. So we've stopped by just to see briefly a Circle K that took some damage here. If you come over here, you can see as the wind continues to blow here on the west coast, this air and vacuum machine taking off its pedestal. All right. And then if you switch over here to the left, follow with me, a lot of the cosmetic covering of the gas station here is completely mangled and taken off the structure. The pumps themselves seem to be intact. That's a good sign. But you see a lot of this after a storm in Florida, right? Where the awning, the canopy of the gas stations come ripping off and folding down. But at first blush here, it looks like the tanks themselves, rather the pumps, are fine. Over here on the left, you can see the water. This is a classic example of what we're talking about. This is right off the Tamiami Trail, something called Hoffman Street. All the streets are just little mini rivers here. And there are a lot of homes down this neck of the woods that are dark, where there's no power on these side streets, nobody out. We stopped to get a light. We heard someone scream to us, "Get back in your car!" And they're afraid of looting here, naturally, right? That's what they came after us about. So once we established that we were TV folks, we got out of there and they understood. But we will continue our move south here on the Tamiami Trail. Once we get into Northport proper, we'll get back on air with you. But this is a classic example of what we're seeing here in Southwest Florida, and this is just the beginning of it. Back to you on the studio.
Wow, scary stuff.
A stunning amount of damage. We see it a lot with gas stations, the way they're built like that, but you can see it's widespread and flooding like here everywhere.
Yeah, we're going to be doing cleanup for many, many months. Central Florida seeing the worst of Ian in the overnight hours and this morning.
We're going to pause for the start of the 7 o'clock hour. We'll bring that to you coming up.
Fox 35 News starts now. Tracking Ian.
We have been talking about hurricane, now tropical storm Ian, for over 24 hours now, and the effects are still being felt.
We want to check in with Randy. She has been moving throughout Central Florida as well. And Randy, I can see from the image, she's watching what they're zooming in on there. There's an Osceola County Sheriff's car that was underwater there in this area. She's gone to Kissimmee there to see the flooding. And zooming in right now, it's hard to see. I believe that's one of the cars, one of many cars that they've seen stranded right now.
Yeah, the image that Randy was showing us just a short time ago is that you could actually see the water pouring out of the door.
That's a different one now.
This is a different
civilian
vehicle.
car.
But again, we're going to be seeing images like this throughout Central Florida. There is some serious flooding in a lot of areas. And Randy, if you're able to hear us and you want to give us an update, what are we seeing right now?
Now, talking to Miss Rosie, she owns this vehicle right here to my right. She said she was trying to head towards. She was said that this is not her first rodeo with a hurricane. She was here for Charlie, but was planning to head to work. She said that she was in the car trying to, again, make it to work, and the water started to pour into her car. And at that moment, she knew, I need to get out. It is no longer safe at all for me to keep going, and that my car needs to remain here right now. She said she's waiting for her car to be moved. She's waiting for the sun to come up, and she said she was told by an officer that they would take her back home. But this is one example. Someone has been dealt the cards of the situation. They tell you to make sure that you ride through or walk through water like this, because this is something that can happen. And then I was also showing you the people that was underwater as well. The water comes to the door, and as you heard this watching, as soon as those doors opened on this vehicle, the water started pouring out. And it's the point where bottles like a Gatorade, either the patrol officer was drinking, poured out onto the street. We've also seen a rescue boat that moved out of this area within the last 5 minutes or so. But you may be able to make out just how deep this water is. And this is why they tell you to stay at home, and this is why they tell you not to try to navigate through these waters. In terms of the wind that we're seeing around here, as soon as I arrived, I could hear metal twisting. Auto parts were over here, and I saw one of the signs over here really just shaking in the wind. And even navigating here, we were in Lake County early this morning and trying to get over here, trying to make a stop in Bayou Pool. And just about everywhere we were going, we were hitting floodwater, and wanted to make sure that we were navigating and getting here safely. In particular, we were exit to try to go navigate to Boggy Creek. Completely flooded. We could not get through. That's
All right, so again, we're trying to listen to Rainey there, but you can see hear the heavy wind, and it's still raining there, and so that impacts our microphone, so it makes it a little difficult for us to hear. But Ryan was commenting, we saw it looked like an airboat, like a rescue airboat.
Yeah. That shows you the conditions. That sums it up well when they're using their airboat. And it looks like the truck is trying to pull their SUV out. There you can see it right now. That is, if it's the same airboat that came by before, you'll see the Osceola County logo. That is not what this is designed for.
No,
but they're going to use it here, and these cars are just total. I mean, those are going to be salvaged cars, and you wonder when they parked on this street, they thought it was a safe place. That is clearly not the case. Just in that frame alone, we've got 2 Osceola County cars, 1 an SUV stuck. And these are people that know their way around hurricanes.
And I'm sure Osceola County was just like Orange County. We heard from Sheriff John Mina just a couple of days ago saying that they would have double the amount of officers out and about just to make sure that the roads were safe and everybody was safe. And I'm sure Osceola County and all the counties did the same thing. So you have a lot of extra officers out there who are trying to make sure that the roads are passable. And in some cases, they get stuck just like these guys did.
Yeah, and we just saw the parking meter, which is probably 4 feet tall, and it's at the top, just to give you the sense of how high that water is. And this would conceivably be, obviously, that's the sheriff's crew out there. They're looking to rescue people and do what they can in deep floodwaters. 4 feet deep floodwaters, deep enough where they can take that boat that is designed for waterways to be in the streets of Kissimmee.
We'll see if we can get the attention of Jamie or Allison to give us an indication of just how much rain Osceola County has seen over the last couple of hours, because I have a feeling that what we're seeing here is probably not isolated just to Kissimmee, but probably in many parts of Central Florida. But Jamie is at the desk with us now. What are we seeing as far as rainfall totals for Osceola?
I just checked, and we're at over 15 inches right now. Okay, in this one area. I mean, look at the way.
Did you think you'd see this?
We got an airboat.
An airboat in the middle of Kissimmee.
On that street right now, and good grief. I mean, this is incredible right now. I mean, we are looking at images right now that certainly aren't surprising with the amount of rain we've seen.
Unless they have 2 out there, but that one's certainly from Wild Florida.
And I want to just give a shout out to the guys from Wild Florida, because they come on our air very often. Sam Houghton, a great guy, and they often they went out for Hurricane Harvey in Houston. They did a lot of rescues. And they're located in Kenansville, which is just south of this area. So it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. If you've ever been out to Wild Florida, it's a great park. But these guys go out and they bring these airboats whenever there's any significant flooding in a hurricane. And we've brought them on the air many times to talk about their rescue efforts. So kudos to them and Sam and the team for getting out there and helping today.
Well, no better way to save a life in a flood emergency than with an airboat, right? You're above danger. You can tow over. You can pluck whoever you need to get out of those vehicles. Boy, that is a dire situation. These guys are superheroes right now live on your television screen.
What's your sense, Jamie? Downtown we had the lake overflow. I mean, is this just way too much rain in a short amount of time?
Yeah. Well, ironically, we were talking to Ray Vieta, Brooks and I, when we were covering. I came back in after the morning show. I came back in at 7, and Brooks and I took it through again as we continued coverage. And Ray asked us, he said, hey, the area lakes, they're essentially, they do act as retention ponds. There's a lot of drainage that goes into them, Lake Eola, Lake Ivanhoe, and sometimes, with the magnitude of rain we've got, you just, ironically, again, we told them, it usually works out in our favor, but clearly this is not the case with some area lakes. The Lake Eola stuff, Brian, was shocking to see.
Right. Now, there's a salvage truck. Conceivably, they're going to pull out the 2 Osceola County vehicles at that point, especially the SUV. I mean, they send these out hurricane-proof, and it's still not hurricane-proof because they don't expect that kind of depth.
This is incredible.
Can I ask Jay, what do we expect as far as the recession of the water? Because that's the one thing people are going to want to know. How long before the water starts to spread out again?
All right, well, so we think about that, Amy, it's all about infrastructure, right? I don't know what the drainage schematic is like that in that area there. I'm hoping they've got good drainage. Obviously, the drainage was overwhelmed by the amount of rain, how quickly it's been coming down. We're talking on the order of 3, 4, 5, 6 inches per hour. Now, it has been raining. I came into this building again at 7 p.m. yesterday evening, and it has sounded this way on our rooftop since then. So now we're going on 12 hours of focused tropical rain, courtesy of Ian.
And you can speak better. This was an area that was probably very wet before this storm happened.
Well, the rainy season has been rather robust. We've had daily rain. We've had some heavy-duty showers and storms around into the PM hours, which is, good for the garden, but a little bit too much, and it saturates our soils. Eventually, the soil could hold no more, and you can see proof in the pudding, as we say, with these live images right now here in Goodyear, Orlando, that the drainage has been overwhelmed.
We heard the governor say that we would see catastrophic and historic levels of flooding, and that is certainly rang true with this storm. And I think back to some of the worst storms that we've lived through, and Hurricane Jean was one of the worst because that storm sat there and spun and dumped rain on us for days on end. Tropical Storm Faye was another one, just a ton of rain. And sometimes that's all it takes.
Slow-moving tropical storms are notorious heavy rain producers, okay? That's how it goes. And Ian is moving slowly, less than 10 miles per hour, kind of slogging along and dumping rain. And Amy and Ryan, we all know the counterclockwise rotation in these tropical systems. It really is dependent on where these rain bands set up, how quickly they move, and they're setting up, but they aren't moving. So it's a classic case of flash flooding. We're dealing with multiple counties now. My concern has also been out in New Smyrna Beach, coast of Volusia County, where Nestor is over on Canal Street. Big water rise there, and of course the flood emergency over there right along 434 and the Longwood Altamont area on the Little Wekiva River. Unprecedented flooding there, flood stage or new flood stage now, record level at 30.6 feet. So people were advised to get out of the way of that, seek higher ground. So multiple locations, myself and the storm team on this. We want to keep everybody safe. But again, when it rains, it pours when you have these type of tropical conditions.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned New Smyrna Beach. We just heard from a viewer who indeed woke up and she was trapped in her place. We do have Randy's mic back now. And Randy, you're getting a front row view of this. I mean, you've got to be kind of shocked by what you're seeing with an airboat there. What are you seeing right now that we can't see?
If Randy can hear us, but we have a place to call to Sam Hott, who is one of the owners of Wild Florida, to see if they can give us a little bit of detail about what they are seeing and how they managed to get out there and get to be part of this rescue today. I wonder if the sheriff's office might even have them on a short list of people to
contact them. They just volunteered like so many people. Randy, are you with us now?
Yes, sorry, it was a little bit loud, but it looks like one of these restaurants pretty dark, and they're taking people off. It looks like a family of children who have been pulled over. They're being taken over here. This looks like it used to be an auto zone, but you can see what may be a mom carrying a young child and then stationing over here. And just to give you an idea of the flood waters that they're dealing with, you see how they are slouching through the water over here. I'm going to see if I can try to catch the game. I know this is a sensitive time considering what I'm doing. Excuse me.
Rescued out of the waters there, but can you imagine? I mean, just how frightening. You know, you're always told to not drive into these waters, but in the dark of night, and that's why we're telling people not to go out,
right?
Because the sun is still not up, and in the dark of night, you don't know what you're driving.
Well, you had to wonder when you saw that truck. They're not going to rescue a car.
Some great coverage there from our Fox 35 team assessing the damage in the Orlando area. There you're seeing some pretty severe flooding as now Tropical Storm Ian does make its way through this portion of central Florida. We do want to actually send you out to the latest update from our Fox Tampa team because the brunt of this storm, the eye of this storm when it did touch down in Florida as a Category 4 hurricane, did hit, as we know, the Fort Myers area. And as the sun is beginning to rise here on the East Coast, we are finally able to assess some of that damage. Our Fox Tampa team are live on the ground with the latest updates. Let's listen in. It's definitely shocking to see the first little bits of daylight. With the sun's not up, we still have so much to see, but the first little bit of daylight is really giving us a much clearer picture of what this looks like out here because it was pitch black. The power is essentially completely out in Lee County. So even this little bit of daylight is just really highlighting the damage out here. We're at the yacht basin, the Fort Myers yacht basin, or I should say really what's left of it, because look, you can see in the distance there's the Fort Myers Yacht Basin sign completely on the other side of the bridge. This is a tender boat that is clearly not in the water anymore. That storm surge carrying it completely to the intersection here at the base of the Edison Bridge. Boats overturned. We have doors on the ground. All this debris. Don't know if this came from inside boats, residents, but you can just see that this is where the wind and the storm surge whipped through, leaving remnants all over the ground here. We actually just spoke with one gentleman who we're going to have on during our 8 o'clock or our next hour. But he is out here with a rescue group from South Carolina already starting to tend to those who need help. He told me that there is a boat stranded out in the middle of the water. They're out of fuel. He said they're not going to be able to get to them till about noon today. He just spoke with one gentleman who apparently rode out the storm out here. He's over 80 years old. He rode out the storm, said he was fine. Don't know how that's possible. He's in that boat right there in between the two larger boats. We're going to talk again with this rescue personnel and hear a little bit more of that story, but those crews are already hard at work because there are a lot of folks out here who are going to need some significant help when the sun starts to come up. Just in driving down here, I mean, this is just a small portion of the damage, but we have seen floating docks completely in the intersection of downtown Fort Myers, uprooted trees, down power lines, debris obviously everywhere. When we got down here, those floodwaters were still over the streets as well. They are beginning to recede, but you still just can't see the extent of what Hurricane Ian did to the Fort Myers area. But if you look behind me here, this stretch of road, you can just see the bare palm trees. It whipping through here, obviously the wind doing quite a bit of damage. And a little bit down this street here, there is a pole completely in the middle of the road. We were driving behind one gentleman who is a resident here in the area. He came on that pole, he did not see it, he hit it, he popped his tire, and so now he is left stranded in the middle of the intersection. And that's exactly why first responders, as they begin to do rescue missions out here this morning, they're asking folks, please stay inside. There are so many hazards out here, and they don't want to have more emergency responses to respond to in the midst of the chaos that they're already trying to manage. So a lot of recovery to do out here, a lot of rescues to do out here. And the day is just beginning. So as the sun continues to come up, we're going to be continuing to show you the damage here on the ground in Fort Myers. But definitely our hearts go out to the folks that call this place home, because we're going to be able to see when the sun comes up, it looks nothing like how they left it before this storm hit here, guys. Excellent insight there from our Fox Tampa team beginning to assess the damage done by Hurricane Ian in the Fort Myers area. As the sun does continue to rise here, we'll continue to send you out to look at the devastation that Category 4 Hurricane Ian did leave when it touched down on the Florida West Coast. We are back live, raw and unfiltered, into our coverage with our Fox 35 team as the sun is rising here in Orlando as well, and the eye of this storm is making its way to this portion of central Florida. We do know, of course, that now it is a tropical storm, but we're continuing to assess what is quite the scene in Kissimmee, Florida. There you're seeing that road completely flooded. We just saw a family being unloaded out of an airboat that quite literally went down this road. This is not a river that you are looking at. This is a business road that dozens of cars appear to be submerged under. We did just moments ago see a sheriff's vehicle also submerged there. So we'll send you out live, raw and unfiltered to listen into this coverage.
Around the corner from, you know, I stayed over here on Lake Emma and just drove around the corner here at Lake Mary. It was a mess. I mean,
that was the worst street I was on last night.
There were tree limbs down everywhere, and in some cases, whole trees down. So one of the things we see with these oaks is that they have very shallow roots. So when the ground gets saturated, they topple over, and that could continue to happen throughout the day.
Well, yeah, and you know, myself and the storm team, we're forecasting winds, gusts still over 50 miles per hour through and into the afternoon, even the late afternoon or the evening as possible as Ian clears the peninsula. So, Amy, just to show that in that statement is that the ground's saturated, there's going to be more rain, the gusty winds, something's got to give, right?
Yeah.
So it's these root systems and these shallow-rooted trees.
I'm actually surprised they're pulling that car out of the water in these conditions. Right. It must be his company. That's all I got to think. To get out there in those conditions, because everyone we really see there, they're emergency responders.
That's like
the whole hood is It's just crazy. The truck feels confident they can get out of there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'd want that job right there, but kudos to the heroes who are out there doing this work today. And this is, again, Osceola County. We're also getting flooding images coming in from Volusia County, New Smyrna Beach, Edgewater. Homes are flooding there, water waist deep in some places. So, again, this is a situation that we are going to see throughout central Florida. Seminole County, as Jamie just mentioned, they have a flood warning now in effect too. You said 8:30?
7:30.
7:30, okay.
Back at the report here. Yeah.
All right, so wherever you are, if you are still seeing rain, you definitely want to stay indoors, wait for this to pass. It is not worth the risk to get outside. We heard from Sheriff John Mina a short time ago, who is urging people to please don't go out. One of the things we worry about is down power lines and, of course, that debris. You don't want to step into anything and just, you know.
There's not a better example than what we're seeing right there.
You know, we always say turn around, don't drown. That's the situation that comes to mind when we say that.
Absolutely. And again, just a reminder that there are rescue crews that are out and about. If you are in a dire situation, you can call 911. But Ryan was just talking to a viewer who said that when she called 911, they asked her, is your road passable?
In New Smyrna Beach, and they said contact the police department to see if we can even get to you at that point, because they know they might encounter this right here. And we say 15 inches of water. I mean, that's rain. That's deeper than that in some of those spots, obviously.
All right, looks like the tow truck driver has got that car hooked up.
He's solid.
Poor guy, and so he's going to try to drag that thing out of there. But Jamie was saying it is going to take a while for these waters to recede. In many cases, the water is still flowing, so we will continue to try to get in touch with the folks. Oh, they're putting an airboat on the back of that truck is what we're being told. But we will continue to try to get in touch with the folks at Wild Florida to see if they can give us an indication of what they're seeing as well.
I've done a good job of blocking off the road to make sure no one else ends up there at this point.
All right, so Randy Hildreth is live for us, and she has been trying to.
What is that?
Like something floating. It looks like a tree.
Tree
floating in the water. And again, this is why you don't want to be walking around in these floodwaters, because you don't know what's in there. But we can see several rescue vehicles that are in the back of this video here. And Randy can hear us again. Randy, can you hear us okay? Were you able to talk to that mom and the kids?
Yes. So I was able to talk to, well, first let me say one quick thing. I was able to talk to the family. They could be rescued, and I was told that the mom didn't want to go on camera, and understandably, everything that they have just experienced being rescued from their homes. She said that they live in the Delbrook Park community, which is near this area, and they have already seen flooding. She said the demographics of the community, a lot of families are watching for more people to be rescued. We may start seeing more families have been single people. So just to keep in mind of what we may start seeing behind us, but she said that there are some elderly people who live in that area, about 65 to 70 houses, but she says that center part of that community is lower, so they experience the flooding. She said, yes, they have flooded before, but nothing like what she has experienced today. And she said before she left that the water was already to her kneecap, and when I looked at her pants, all of this was soaked. But she's here with 4 of her children. She said, not ready to go to work, got to his car and realized, wait a second, we seriously have a situation. At that point, the water was on, this isn't his vehicle, but the water was already up to his tires. But again, she said by the time that they left from inside of their home, the water was already up to their feet. And I just lost my hat. The extent of the flooding here. Orlando, if you could show that